Welcome, everyone. My name is Tori McPherson, also known as Tori the Birth Keeper. This is my YouTube channel. Hello. On this channel, we talk about business, birth work, and herbalism. So if those are things that interest you, definitely hit that subscribe button and click that like button below because it does help the algorithm have more people have access to this knowledge. So today we are blessed with the presence of Desirae Lewis. She shares with us her birth story of her 3 daughters. She is a mother of 3 and a CEO of Bold Beauty Cosmetics. She is a beautiful soul, and she takes us through her journey of birthing through the decades. We talk about Desirae's first pregnancy. We talk about the birth, the postpartum. We touch on topics such as tearing, your options around stitches, epidurals, breastfeeding and how to support that, postpartum planning. So definitely stay tuned to these gems that we drop during this episode. Hello, welcome everyone. This is Tori the Birth Keeper on YouTube. Whoop whoop. I am a holistic home birth doula, and today we are joined with Desirae. She is going to share with us her birth story from her hospital experience all the way down to her home birth, kind of birthing through the decades. So she's going to share with us the knowledge that she's gained, her journey through motherhood, and I can't wait to get started. It's going to be a good one.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Desirae, can you first start by telling us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your business that you have, and then, yeah.
Yes, of course. Well, my name is Desirae, and I am currently based in Raleigh, North Carolina, originally from Seattle, Washington. And I've been in the conventional health space for about 13 years, um, working in different specialties of healthcare, starting in women's health, mental health, family practice, endocrine, and now I work in insurance. Um, and I also have a business on that I started on the side called Bold Beauty Cosmetics, and it stemmed from my time as a makeup artist. Um, and just realizing that a lot of the products that I was using on a regular basis on my clients had a lot of unhealthy ingredients in them. And with our skin being the largest organ that we have and how much gets absorbed through our skin on a daily basis, I thought that it would be beneficial for me to create products that didn't have all of the harmful chemicals involved. And so I started off with the lipstick line, 5 lip colors, 4 lipsticks, and 1 gloss. Um, and so that was kind of where I started, but the main mission behind that brand was to really promote self-care for women of color. Just being more intentional about what we're putting in our bodies, and also just the time that we spend on ourselves. And so, more than just lipstick, this brand is really meant to make everyone feel beautiful and to not feel um, just to kind of express themselves in different ways using the cosmetics. So um, I am gearing in a little bit more of a different direction now. Since having my three kids, it has really been put into my heart for me to focus more on women's health care. And I really find that education is a big part of it. And a lot of us, unfortunately, aren't being educated on our bodies totally. We're just kind of going through the motions. Each time we get pregnant, we just kind of go through that pregnancy journey and birthing journey. And then we don't really know, everything that's happening to our bodies during that time and even prior to. Um, and so I'm creating a platform that's going to be based in women's health education, connecting to our wombs on a deeper level, and also creating some products that can assist with us connecting deeper to our wombs and kind of the things that go along with that, whether it's endometriosis or just you're having a hard time with your cycles or um, even sexual health care, and things of that nature. So that's all in the works. And so I'm excited to start sharing on that level real soon. So that's a little spill about myself.
I am so excited about that. So, Desirae, can you tell us about your first introduction to birth? Like, what was your
Uh,
kind of?
yes. So my first child was born when I was 19 years old. And it was very interesting. And this is kind of where I speak about us learning about our bodies and how things work. So I'm 19 years old, sexually active with my boyfriend at the time, who I've been with for since I was 16 years old, and I'm on birth control, right? Because I don't want to get pregnant. And they tell me you take your pill every day. Okay, so I'm like, cool, I'll take it every day. What I did not know was that you take it every day at the same time or within an hour of, window. And so I'm making sure to take it every day, kind of. Sometimes I forget. But I'm not taking it at the same time. So sometimes it's in the morning, it's in the evening, it's all over the place. And so I end up getting two periods in one, like within like a week apart. And I'm like, that's strange. But also, like I said, I've been kind of taking my pills whenever I felt like it. So I didn't think anything of it. And so after that second period came, then cricket. So like nothing came after that. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, let me take a test. And so it was obviously positive. It had a faint line. Like one line was solid and the other one was like real faint and kind of like halfway.
I
And so I
hate
was like,
pregnancy tests like that. They know they're so good at that shady half line there where they make you
yes,
take 5 tests because they're like, I see it's
correct.
solid.
Exactly,
Need a better
exactly.
system.
And so me being 19 and in denial and like, heck no, I'm not pregnant. I take that little half a line as a negative, right? Because it's not two full solid lines. It's a half line. And so I continue on about my business and my cycle still doesn't come. And so then I go back and I get the test that says pregnant, not pregnant. Okay, we're not messing around with these lines anymore. And of course, it says pregnant. So
I had a test that said pregnant, not pregnant, and it literally, I took the test and it still showed up blank. There was no answer. It was not expired.
oh my gosh, you're like, no, 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 no. I'm either pregnant or I'm not.
Can you tell me anything? Something?
right,
Like, is this broken? What is Bam.
oh my
We need
goodness.
a better system.
We really do. We really do. Because what's wrong? And that's why they put two in the box, because they already know. Like they're gonna want to take both of these tests.
But I be cheap and I'm only trying to buy the one pack because I only need one answer. And I don't. And then I'm like, now nothing.
right, right. Oh my. And the anxiety that builds up, while you're waiting on that result is none other. Okay. So by the time I get this test and it says pregnant, and I go to my first doctor's appointment, I'm already 12 weeks pregnant. I'm already 12 weeks pregnant.
Oh, that's so nice. So you
Yes.
were out of the like spontaneous miscarriage window for a lot of people.
Yes.
And that is something that is very I want to note that a lot of women want to find out really early on that they're pregnant. But that also, the earlier that you find out that you're pregnant, oftentimes the more worry that comes up with spontaneous miscarriage, because the
Absolutely.
likelihood of that happening ends, not ends, but it's around like 92% that the pregnancy will go to full term at the 12-week mark. And so
Right.
the women that find out at 2 weeks, they deal with a lot of anxiety for a lot longer period of time. And also, I just want to normalize this anxiety that a lot of women feel around that first few weeks.
Yes.
Every woman that I know that has had a pregnancy has that anxiety. It's
Mm-hmm.
normal. It does end. We do get over it. And a part of this journey of motherhood is surrender.
Yes.
So it begins very early.
It really does. It really does. And also, intuition, plays a big part in it as well. As your pregnancy progresses and you become more in tune with your growing womb and your growing baby, like that intuition kicks in early for most women, and you start to kind of feel when something is not right, or like your body starts to
Absolutely.
it starts to tell you for sure, your womb starts speaking to you.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly. And so yeah, so I was already 3 months by the time I went to my first appointment, and I really had um like a textbook pregnancy. I mean, it was straight across the board. Everything was fine. I didn't have morning sickness.
Hey,
I
I didn't either. Okay. Listen, you don't have to have it. I know a lot of women do, but there are unicorns in the system. I
There you
one
go.
of them,
Me
okay?
too.
And
Me
just
too.
because you have one gender doesn't mean you're going to have it, or one or another. Like, every body is different. Every pregnancy is different.
For
Let your
sure.
body speak for itself, and don't let other people put that on you.
That's facts. Facts. Because yeah, I didn't have any of that. And everything went very uneventful. It was just a really, I guess, regular pregnancy, and I believe, if I remember correctly, I had a little bit of anemia during that pregnancy. I do remember the doctor giving me iron pills. But other than that, I was good to go. And um, I, so after I'd gotten through my pregnancy and it was time to give birth, she was late. So I went 2 weeks past my due date before they induced. Um, and my best friend had already had her son, and they induced her pregnancy as well for preeclampsia measures. And so she was telling me that pitocin, was a route that I did not want to go. She was like, just don't do the pitocin because it makes your contractions come on a lot stronger. And so when I got to the hospital, they broke my water, and they were like, okay, labor should get going pretty soon. So you can go on back home, get the rest of your stuff or eat, or, whatever you want to do, and then come back in about an hour. And so I went home, rested some more, grabbed some more things, and, stuff like that, and then came back. And I guess labor still hadn't progressed the way they wanted it to at that moment. And so I they were like, well, we could do pitocin. I was like, no, 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 no. I don't want to do pitocin. What else can I do? And they're like, well, you can start walking the hospital. And so that's what me and my mom did. We just walked the hospital. My daughter's father was at work still. I'm like, don't come up yet, because we don't. It could be however long. And so we walked to the hospital, and then labor got going. Once labor got going, it progressed at a pretty steady pace. I ended up getting an epidural with that pregnancy at my, what, I would think I was five. I think you have to be 5 centimeters dilated. So once I got there, I went ahead and did the epidural. It was funny because I was a pretty smaller, kind of petite girl, and so but I guess I'm bottom heavy, and so the doctor, or the anesthesiologist, wasn't going in deep enough for the epidural to fully take place. And so after he would do it, I would still feel it. And so then he would have to go in a little deeper, go in a little deeper. And so then he says, after he finally gets it going, he's like, "Oh, I underestimated your size. Like you're a little bit, basically, I'm a little thicker than you thought I was." And so when all was said and done, the epidural only took on one side. So
And
so I
okay, pause, because that is something to note. That is also a common experience that a lot of times epidurals either do not take away the
yeah.
stimulation fully.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
take it away on one side. It has to be repeated. It is
Mhm.
not always just this, okay, we stick the needle and done. A lot of times you have to do it repeated or come back, do it again 30 minutes. Like it's
Right.
not always
Yeah,
this one and done, procedure.
facts. That's
And
true.
and a lot of times that comes with bladder problems after birth because with an epidural, you oftentimes have to get a catheter as well because they don't want you to stand,
Right.
and be able to walk to the bathroom. So those
Right.
are just things to be aware of.
Right. And they do limit your intake for that reason as well. And so you're not allowed to necessarily eat and drink the way that you may want to. And that's for two reasons. It's obviously for the reason that you just stated. You're numb from the waist down, or at least that's the goal. And so you're not able to get up and go to the bathroom. And for two, if they end up having to do some sort of emergency C-section, they don't want you to have a lot in your system before, if you, in the event that you end up having to need a C-section. So, and then there are, you have to always weigh your pros and cons. I was very uneducated on epidurals. I kind of chose to keep myself that way, to be quite honest, because I felt like if I knew too much, I would probably opt to not do it. And I was afraid of how much pain I would be in. At, at 19, I was only concerned about the pain, right?
And that's the
And
truth because that's the story that is all oftentimes passed down to us. That is the painful experience, the most painful thing that you have. Birth does not have to be a painful experience. I look back on my
correct,
birth with Kinsley, it was not a painful experience. It was uncomfortable. Absolutely, it was uncomfortable. It was stretching me beyond places that I had ever been before. But was it painful? I
right,
wouldn't I wouldn't say that it was. No.
right.
It was powerful. It was
Kinsley says,
uncomfortable. No.
no, no, it was not.
It was good for you.
Right.
Okay. It was good for her.
I love that. I love that. And that's what it was. And so the epidural took on, I believe it was the right side and not on the left. And so I could still feel contractions and things of that nature on one side. But it progressed quickly. And when I got to 10 centimeters, the doctor runs in. You don't see him or her until you get ready to push. But he comes in at the last minute and um delivers the baby. She comes pretty quickly. The pushing for me my first pregnancy was like, I didn't realize how in how how what's the word? How intense it was to push. It was like
To push a
knees,
human being into this world.
but for me it was in the hospital setting, it was the knees to chest. Okay. So I've got, her father on one side, he's holding up one leg up to here, and my mom's holding the other leg up to here. And, they're like, tuck your chin in. And when we tell you, because I can't feel everything, when we tell you, you're just gonna and you're just gonna push out with all of your might. And so that's what I'm doing. And I've been in labor now for, probably about 10 to 11 hours. I'm tired. And I know some women labor a lot longer than that. Um, but I'm exhausted. And so I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. And so I can feel her head come out. And then after the head comes out, then the rest of the body just slides right out. And then all the things that come with after the, after the delivery, I did tear. so I had to get some stitches with her, and she was a fairly what
Do
people
you
I
know
guess
what degree Tara you had with her?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Just
Yeah.
want to caveat that it is also a choice to get stitches. If you have a second degree tear or like first degree or second degree, you don't necessarily have to get stitches. Caveat on that, if you don't, stay in the bed. Don't go doing anything crazy afterwards. You need to keep it closed. I mean, not even stairs. Like stay because it will heal, but you have to give it the opportunity to. So
Correct.
that's just a caveat. If it is a third degree tear, it is very recommended that you have stitches, but it is an option. It's not a necessity. So.
And I appreciate you saying that. And this is what I mean around the education piece of it, because I was not offered the option of having my stitches or my tear stitched up.
Mhm.
I literally had no idea what that doctor was doing until I could see him. And I'm like looking at my mom, like, what the heck is he doing down there? And that's when he shares that I had a tear and that they stitched it up. And I'm like, oh, okay. But no, I was not educated on the degree of the tear. I was not asked if I wanted to have my tear stitched up or what my options were. Excuse me, excuse me, in regards to the healing of this tear. I wasn't aware of any of that. I obviously didn't feel it because I was still pretty much numb. Um, but I could feel a little something, a little bit of tug and pull, but nothing too major. Um, so yeah, so I was in the hospital for a couple of days after. They get you up out the bed pretty quickly afterwards, and they transfer you to a different room with the help of a nurse, obviously, because you're numb from the waist down. But everything seemed to be pretty standard, after, as far as my time. I allowed the baby to I excuse me, I opted to have the baby stay in the room with me the entire time. I didn't let her go down to the nursery or anything like that. um right after you have the baby, they latch her right on to the breast right after. And the education around the breastfeeding was non-existent. I mean, the nurse came in, she helped me, she helped me latch. Here I am. She helped me latch, and that was it. I didn't have any other education around it, and so um, it did not last long. I quickly was like, oh no, I don't know anything about this. My oldest didn't latch on very well. Um, I got this huge industrialized breast pump from the hospital that I rented to try to pump. I couldn't get that to work correctly. And my mother didn't breastfeed. So there really wasn't any support there, anyone to really help me with that. So I opted for formula feeding after I got home, and I gave her the colostrum. Then after that, then I breastfed. I mean, excuse me, I formula fed after that.
So
So
two notes on that. The colostrum is very, very important. For those women that don't necessarily plan to breastfeed long term, but you just want to try it, the first 3 days, your body produces colostrum, which is all the antibodies that you have within you as milk, and it gets processed to your baby. So that is
mhm,
the first milk that comes through to help prime their immune systems. Also, if you are planning to breastfeed, it is important to get the resources, like Desirae was saying, the resources before you give birth, or at least get your
absolutely.
team together around you to help you before you give birth, because there's so
Correct.
much in your head that you're thinking about after you have this child, then you're just focusing on keeping them alive, and
Right.
breastfeeding, if it's not something that you are supported around and you have a village around, it can be very challenging,
Correct.
and
Absolutely.
it can be very lonely.
Hmm.
So just make sure that you are at least educating yourself on what is a proper latch. Um,
Yep.
What are some positions? Who is a lactation consultant in my area that I can go to if I have problems? Those
Right.
like those three things right there will help you like move forward in that process and be able to be successful, because it's not it's mother nature, but it's not second nature to
Correct. That, there you go. That part for sure. For
so
sure.
it does need some help. So yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for that, Desiree.
Absolutely. And I just want to add, I was 19 years old. It was my first pregnancy, obviously, and everything. And so I read the baby books, and I bought all the baby magazines. And at the time, they used to have a baby story that came on TLC like every morning. And I watched that every day and watched all these different women give birth and all these things. And to be quite honest, none of those resources talked about breastfeeding. And so um, you have to be very intentional about gaining that knowledge for breastfeeding, because it's not necessarily just all encompassed in all the other things that that you learn about your pregnancy and your labor and delivery. It's totally separate. And so if that's what you're seeking to do, you really have to, like you said, see, ahead of time, look into the lactation consultants in your area. What type of classes is the hospital offering if you choose to go that route? What type of resources are available there? Just they're there. You just have to seek them out. And what I'm hearing and learning is that, unfortunately, in our community, they're talked about even less than other communities. So it's just not something that they're just sharing with us, just right off the top. You know, so
But there are resources. There are resources.
for sure.
I am one of them. I can point you in the direction of a lactation consultant. We like we there's community. If you can
Right.
literally just Google internet resources, like we exist.
Yeah.
Um, we just have to come into birth with an educated
Hmm.
perspective instead of just kind of like allowing the norm to be our norm.
Right. Right. Yeah,
How was
for
your
sure.
postpartum, your first?
Postpartum, very uneventful from what I can remember. Um, yeah, I remember going home with all I had the peri bottle, and because I had the stitches. And so at the end of every time I used the bathroom, I just squeezed that warm water into the peri area, and they self-dissolve, so you don't have to go and have them taken out or anything like that. They just dissolve on their own. And during your 6-week checkup, the nurse or doctor will look and make sure that that's healed up correctly. Um, yeah, I don't remember it being very much. I still lived at home with my mom, so she was a major support system for me. My daughter's father also, stayed nights with us um, when she was first born, and then his mother would come by, and she would also help out. And his sister, me and her were best friends, so she would also come. So I had a whole village. Um, and then a good friend of ours used to own a daycare, and so she was also very good with babies and young children. And so she also helped me a lot with getting my daughter on a schedule after she was here, like a sleeping schedule after a few months in. And so, I mean, all of the support in the world. It was very much, um it helped out so much in just me being able to adapt to being a new mother. Um, there were times where I was definitely exhausted. My mom worked 2 jobs, and so during the day I was at home with the baby by myself, and then my mom would come in for a few hours before she had to go to her next job. So I took advantage of those 2 hours. Like, she would walk in the door, and I'm like, "Here, take the baby." I remember paying my
Shower, pee, rest,
yeah,
sleep,
yeah.
eat, take the laundry, all the things.
All the things. I remember paying my brother to keep her for like 30 minutes so I could get some sleep. I'm like, bruh, I will pay you. Like, you just let me know. I'll do it. I just need some sleep. So, um, but it was definitely helpful to have support much needed. You definitely cannot, they tell you sleep while you can, because once the baby comes, it's very difficult to get that sleep in. And you're like, I get it. But no, seriously, if you can afford to get the rest, you definitely need it. Um, because that first month to 3 months is just really challenging as far as getting that sleep in. Um, so preparing as much as you can ahead of time, as far as just kind of getting people in place, and those who have had children kind of understand and they know what you need. And so if you've got some people in your circle that can be
And
there.
for those who don't know what you need, it's laundry, food, showers. We can take care of our babies, but like in the first few weeks postpartum, you really just need people to take care of your house.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
and that is the main thing. What are you going to eat? Because we need to do that 3 times a day, and getting out of the bed in the first few weeks can be very challenging because
Correct.
you are recovering, your body is tired, your baby is new. It's a lot of different things. So do yourself a favor. Those first 2 weeks postpartum, have the frozen foods, get a meal train. Instead of having like a baby shower, how about you guys prepare me some food? Or how
Yes,
you guys
that's a great idea.
gift me a postpartum doula, so that if you don't want to come to my house and do my laundry and do my dishes and all that, you could hire somebody who can, and that can help me in the way that I would like to be helped. So planning for postpartum is so, so, so important. You'll hear me say it time and time again, because postpartum, those first 40 days can shift your entire health. As a woman, it shifts your entire health for your life, for your womanhood, like journey.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
Mexican tradition, they say that your grave is open for the first 40 days postpartum, because that's how close you are to, because you have just brought in a life, and you are closer to death than you've ever been and for a lot of people. So it's like you really have to nurse yourself back. You have to close your womb back. You have to close your body, your energy, all of that back, because you are so open and so expanded that care definitely has to be taken in that postpartum.
Absolutely. It's a very vulnerable time. And so you, like you said, you have to be mindful. Even if you feel good, which is awesome, you still have to be mindful of the space that you're in.
You should feel good like that.
Yes. Yes. Right.
But still, take it slow. Even going to get a glass of water. If you don't have to do it, like, let people do it for you. Whatever you think is 100%, do 10.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And the meals are so important, because if you choose to breastfeed, you have to take in more calories. And so those meals are very important, and you're exhausted, you got your new baby, you just went through an experience when you birthed this baby, and brought this life into the world. And now you all full speed ahead into the care of yourself and your newborn. And so it's very, very important to prepare ahead of time, as much as possible. And so as much education as you do around the prenatal period, the postnatal period has to have as much. That's why they call it the 4th trimester. You also need
postpartum for the rest of your life. Please spend time researching that as well.
Absolutely, because it isn't just a 6-week, and then you're just like back to yourself after. No.
Especially if you're breastfeeding, your body takes 2 years to go back to hormonally the regular position. The relaxin hormone that allows your hips to spread open, and all of those things is still very active within your body while you're breastfeeding up to 2 years after you give birth. So take care of this new body, this new being. Oftentimes we have different diet changes and all of that happens postpartum, because this is a new body. You are a new woman. You birthed your child, but you also birthed a new version of yourself. So we have to honor that as well.
Right. You are literally never the same again. I mean, and I say that in the most positive, most beautiful way. That evolution definitely happens, and just embracing that is key. And not looking at it as that you've necessarily like lost this part of you, but focusing more on just this new person that you have gained, you know, that you are. And it's a very beautiful experience. And that too was a part of my first pregnancy, I believe, that was missing, was that I just went through the motions. I just did the things, you know, the body just did what it needed to do. And I didn't look at it in any sort of other way. It was just like, I'm having a baby. And then that was it. But there's so much more involved, you know. So that was the part of it that was like, I learned that later, for sure.
Thank you so much for watching part 1 of this episode. In the next part, we dive into miscarriage care and how we can prepare ourselves and how we can cope into that. And then part 3, we get into her home birth story with her daughter Peace. So definitely stay tuned into this birth stories diving deep part of this podcast. It has been such a pleasure to be here with you. Yes, Kinsley says it's been a pleasure. Yes, it's been a pleasure. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and we will see you next time. Peace.